Court has determined that California's restriction of possession of magazines that hold more than 10 rounds, it's going to remain suspended, upholding the previous decision by a lower court on the issue. Now, the NRA Isla's Chris Cox said of the victory, quote, "This unconstitutional law criminalizes possession of many standard capacity magazines and would instantly turn many law-abiding gun owners into criminals," which has kind of always been the point of gun control measures like this. I mean, never forget, they only call it gun control. It's actually people control. It's you control. They want power over you, power over your decisions and your ability to defend your own life. Now, Judge Stephen Bailey is a retired California Supreme Court judge. He's currently running for the office of California's Attorney General. He also has the endorsement of over 16,000 sworn law enforcement officers, including the NRA, PVF, the California Rifle and Pistol Association, Los Angeles Police Protective League, and the LA Deputy Sheriff's Association. He joins us now to talk about the court victory. Stephen, thank you for being here. Good to see you. This was a pretty impressive victory. Because and it amazes me that it was this much of a fight to allow something that with this much common sense to even take place in the first place. What's your reaction?
Well, my reaction is that the decision at the lower court was one of the most well-reasoned decisions that I've ever seen come out of a court in California. And the Ninth Circuit had absolutely no discretion to do anything other than to uphold the lower court. Now, we've still got a long ways to go. California citizens are still at risk. But I found it really interesting that the judge pointed out that even the Deputy Attorney General that was in the lower court's courtroom discussing California's gun laws found the laws so confusing they couldn't actually explain California's gun laws.
Interesting. Well, and so when I see laws like this, I was reading, I was actually looking at the legislation here. When I see laws like this, it's almost like they don't understand that they're, if you have a restriction on possession of magazines that hold more than 10 rounds, people can make magazines. You can have more than one magazine.
You can, but that's where California comes from. I mean, we get to the point where we not only regulate, but we regulate and then over-regulate. And when it comes to guns, their entire agenda here in California is confiscation of guns. Magazines were the first step. And basically, they were telling California citizens, you're going to be a criminal or you're going to turn over for no compensation your magazines, basically your right to keep and bear arms in this state. No magazine, right. And no gun.
Exactly, and that's what they'll go for. They'll go for part of it. If they can go for ammunition, if they can go for the way that ammunition's carried, the way that it's inserted into the firearm, et cetera, then at least they can better control, have more gun control. If they can't ban the firearm, they'll ban everything else that goes in with it. It was a step in the right direction. There's so many other things because it goes into effect. Correct me if I'm wrong on this. The law regarding ammunition, background checks for ammunition, you're limited to 100 rounds. It's like $50 per background check. That goes into effect this January, correct?
I believe that's true.
Oh my heavens! Now that seems that would be a constitutional infringement. Even is that how would you challenge? You're going for Attorney General. You're in a very difficult spot in California, and with these laws particularly. What is your opinion on that law as it relates to the natural right of just self-defense? To do background checks every time you go and purchase ammunition to limit. We're going from everything from bullet buttons to magazine restrictions, and now to this with ammunition. What is your opinion on that?
Well, my opinion is that it is unconstitutional under the Second Amendment. And as the new Attorney General in California, we're going to take that to the court and ask the court to declare it unconstitutional. These regulations, as Judge Benitez said in issuing the preliminary injunction on the magazines, it basically says you can't possess a firearm. If you can't buy ammunition, if you can't possess a magazine, you basically can't possess a firearm in this state. And we need to turn this whole thing around get some common sense back into our political leadership in California. And the only way to do that is to start off with the chief law officer of the state, elect a chief law officer that's going to uphold the Constitution of California and the Constitution of the United States.
Yeah, and of course, obviously, I'm just surprised that this was the result with this particular case. You finally get some good news coming out of California. Before I let you go, Judge, tell me about how are people viewing some of these laws in California? Is it to the point now where you feel that because it seems at first, I don't know if it was just apathy or if it was just, people thought that it was acceptable. But what has been some of your response in particular to what are people thinking about Second Amendment laws? What are they thinking about gun rights? Do they feel that these have gone too far? What's your opinion on that?
Well, I think Californians do think that the law has gone too far. And the reason they think that is that they look at the fact that there are over 10,000 felons who are prohibited from possessing arms. In the last year, our California Attorney General, the one Jerry Brown appointed, was able to get 306 names off that list. The people we don't want to possess firearms, they have no time for, but they have all the time in the world to regulate and try to take law-abiding citizens' firearms. It's ridiculous here in the state, and law-abiding citizens are fed up with it, and they're going to turn this guy out and elect a new attorney general in California.
Yeah, absolutely. Before I let you go, why don't you tell us about your campaign?
Well, our campaign is predicated on protecting citizens in California, protecting our kids, grandkids, and in an age when the crime rate's going up at double digits throughout the state, violent crime is out of control. The legislature has essentially decriminalized property crime. Citizens of California are fed up and they're ready for a change. We're playing off that. We're getting immense support from Republicans, Democrats, independents in this state. We expect to win in November. We will win in November. And it's simply a matter of getting gun owners, those citizens that are fed up with this kind of regulation, out to vote. We can't afford to have any gun owner in this state not get out and vote their interest. And so taking this opportunity, NRA members, get out and vote in November. Those of you who are concerned about upholding our Constitution, get out and vote in November. You've got candidates running in California in the top two that are going to represent your interests, and that's what I intend to do as the new Attorney General in the state of California.
There you go. Thank you for your time today. It's good to see you, Judge.
Thank you.